Have you ever thought about how we can spend most of our days wondering what might happen one day? One day. It's so easy to spend so much of our lives thinking about kind of what might happen one day. I call it the what-ifs. Anybody have some what-ifs in your life? Come on, we all have what-ifs. I love a good what-if in my life. There are some what-ifs I don't, however, because how many of you know there's some good what-ifs? And then there's some what-ifs that you don't want to think about what if. You don't want those in your life. I love a good what if. I was thinking about just what God has been doing in our church. I was thinking about what God has been doing kind of in Jennifer and I's life. I was thinking about all the what ifs, all the dreams that I have right now. I mean, we're actually really excited today after church this afternoon. We get to go. We're flying out to Utah, everyone. We're getting to sit with two of the greatest pastors, in America. One leads a church of 60,000 people. The other is 30,000. I thought, what if? What if, God? Well, I can't even imagine you're putting us in the room, but what if you want to do something like that through our church? What if you want to do something like that through LifePoint throughout the state of Virginia? What if it would look like one day there would be so much influence in this church that we could reach a state on that level? What if there was campuses in every mid-size and small size and big size city all across the state as we go to reach 1% of the state? What if we could reach 100,000 people for Jesus? What if I just start dreaming, what if? What if one day all of our locations, Richmond and Fred North, and what if they all had permanent buildings? What if they didn't set up and tear down in high schools? What if every new campus we started, people just handed us the keys to buildings and say, if you want to use it, here you can go? What if that's the kind of dreams I have? What if we could have revival nights at Fredericksburg location once or twice or 3 times a year? And what if the lines didn't have to go like to Walmart? People didn't have to come for hours, and you're like, what if? That's amazing, Pastor. That's revival until you're sitting in the overflow. You're waiting for hours to get in. What if God allowed us to build a building here in Fredericksburg that served as a hub for our community that didn't just have 1,000 seats, but had thousands of seats? I don't know. What if? What if what Henry and Alex Seeley said when they spoke over us at revival nights, that the church isn't just gonna enter a season of addition, but we're going into a season of multiplication where God's about to multiply the amount of people that we're reaching, and God's about to multiply what he's doing in our church. What if what Tim Timberlake told Jennifer and I back in the back office amongst many things as he sat there and said, this is a move of God and God's about to do things in your church that's gonna blow your mind. He's about to do things that is gonna be exceedingly more than you could think, exceedingly more than you could ask for, exceedingly more than you could have ever imagined. What if? What if? I started dreaming about what ifs. So what if? What if? What if God had land for us in Fredericksburg in a place where it seemed like there wasn't even any more land available? What if there was land in the middle of the city? Within minutes from our campus, what if? And I don't know, I just started dreaming what if, and you know where I found myself this week? Standing on a land that could be a what if, standing on 38 acres to be exact, like just right down the road. I started dreaming, what if we could build ball fields and a 3,000 seat auditorium? What if God had that for us? What if God had rec centers? And what if we didn't have a warehouse across town and it was right there at our building? And what if? And I was like, as soon as you start dreaming like that, you know what happens? It's like reality wants to hit you. It's like, well, it's like $6 million and you don't have that. You actually owe money. You should wait till Culpepper's paid off to dream. I thought, what if, God? What if there was a handful of people on a Sunday morning? What if there was people in our church that just had, they were given to the booster club and they were given to the college and they were given to the PACs and all the other stuff and campaign stuff, and maybe they got millions of dollars just laying around. What if on a Sunday people just started writing $1 million checks around here? What if somebody says, Pastor, we believe in the mission. Pastor, I'm about that. Pastor, I want some land like that. Pastor, I believe I'm with you. What if? What if? We all have what ifs. You probably got some what ifs. You got some what ifs. What if I do get that job? What if God does open that door? What if? The problem with what ifs is many times our dreams is met with our realities. You'd love to dream, but your what ifs look a little different. I got some what ifs and I'm like, what if this thing I'm believing for, I think about my own life, I think about my son, what if the thing I'm believing for him, what if it doesn't happen? What if it doesn't change? What if it always stays, it's just like, what if? You got some things in your life, what if it didn't work? Fill in the blank. What if I never get married? What if the diagnosis does come back positive? What if my kids do make a wrong decision? What if my kids keep making the wrong decisions? What if the economy changes? What if the money doesn't last through retirement? What if AI takes over the world? Am I the only one that's ever thought that? Where's it going here? What if? What if? We all have what ifs. And it can be frustrating because once you start asking the what ifs and once you deal with one negative what if, another one just always likes to find its place. You know what I wish? I wish God could just guarantee me a couple things. I wish when I would have said yes to Jesus, he's just like, you know what? I guarantee you'll know everything about your life. Guarantee you'll have everything you ever wanted. Guarantee you. I wish he could just guarantee me. You have some things you wish he could guarantee you. You wish he could just guarantee you your kids are gonna be okay and the relationship's gonna work out and there's gonna be enough for retirement and the opportunity is coming and the doctor's report is gonna be good. Of course we would. Of course we would love those things in our lives. But here's a question I had for today and here's a question that I want you to wrestle with. If you're taking notes, I'd love for you to write this down. Here's the question: how can you be sure about your future when you're not sure what your future holds? How can you be sure about a future that you're not quite sure what that future holds? And that's why I love this verse. Because there are a whole lot of things in life I am not sure about. But I don't have to live my life unsure of everything in my life. And David, he ends this beautiful psalm. See, he wraps up everything in which we talked about the last few weeks. He could have had, I'm sure, 1,000 what ifs. What if I don't get through this valley? What if I gotta keep hiding in caves? What if people keep betraying me? What if there's more loss in my life? What if it doesn't turn out the way that I hope for? If anybody had some what ifs, it would have been David. If anybody could have joined you in a good case of what ifs, it would have been him. But I want you to look at what he closes this final verse with. As he wraps up Psalm 23, he doesn't say what if. He actually starts with one word that I think is easy to just skip and pass by. He starts with this amazing word and he just says, surely. And the thing about it is when you begin to preach kind of like verse by verse and you just got kind of one verse you're preaching on this week, as I look at this verse, man, I'm telling you, I've looked at it forward and backwards and sidewards, It's not a word, sidewards. Looked at it every which way. And I saw this word surely. And I thought, man, I love that word. I love how he closes this psalm because it's as if David was saying, this one thing I know. I don't know about my future. I don't know how long I'll be hiding in caves. I don't know what's happening next, but this one thing, surely, he says, this one thing I know, surely what? What was the one thing that he knew that he was resting his life on? And the one thing he knew is this. He says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. Surely goodness and mercy. Of all the things he was uncertain about, he was sure about one thing. And he said, surely goodness and mercy, it shall, not it might, not it could, not it might be a possibility. No, it shall follow me all the days of my life. I love that. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. That word follow is an interesting word. When you look at that word follow in the original text, when you look in the Hebrew, that word follow is the word radaf. It actually means to be pursued or to be chased after. See, David wasn't just picturing goodness and mercy casually strolling beside him. He wasn't just picturing like, maybe I'll turn around and it's there. It's like a few hundred steps back. No, he was saying, as I look back over my life, as I look back over what I am sure about, this one thing I know, there's a lot of what ifs in my life, but this one thing that I know, when I look back and when I take confidence in what is behind me and when I look towards what's ahead of me, what I do know is surely goodness and mercy. It's not just casually strolling behind me. It has been chasing after me. It has been pursuing me. It has been following me, and it is with me all the days of my life. He says, goodness and mercy has been pursuing me. He knew what it was like to be pursued. And as he looks back over his life, he says, whether I was in the mountain, whether I was in the valley, whether I was hungry or whether I was in need, whether I was being chased or whether I was in the palace, surely goodness and mercy. When he was in the pasture, guess what? Goodness and mercy was following him. When he was in front of Goliath and he stood there as just a wee boy, just standing there with a sling and five smooth stones, and there was a giant there looking at him, goodness and mercy was following him. When he was hiding in caves, goodness and mercy was with him. When he was in the middle of some major sinful choices in his life, goodness and mercy, it was following him. When he was in the pastures, goodness and mercy was following him. When he was in the valleys or in the mountains, goodness and mercy was following him. When I think about my life, goodness and mercy has been following me. When I grew up with a dad trying to raise me all by myself, without a mom, without great influences. When I grew up in a home filled with abuse and alcoholism, when I sat in the counselor's office as a teenager, and when I was sent to a boys' home, and when I stood in front of people and I wondered, God, what are you even gonna do in my life? I know goodness and mercy was following me. When I look back over my life and I look back at altar moments, when I look at an altar where I got married, when I look at an altar at a hospital room where my son was born, when I think about what God has done, when I think about the fact that he has made so many ways where there seemed to be no ways. When I think about how we went and planted a church in the middle of a pandemic, when I think about hundreds of people that came alongside and said, we'll believe in it. People like Zach and people like Emily and people like Alyssa and people like Liz that said, oh, so I'll sign up for that. You know what? I know goodness and mercy was following me. When I think about taking this church over and standing on this stage and standing behind this pulpit, goodness and mercy, they've been following me. And when you think about your own life, if you would take inventory of it, I'm telling you, whether you have lived mostly mountains or you have lived mostly valleys, goodness and mercy, it's been following you. And there is a song that we sing as a church that for many of you, it has become your anthem. It has been like the song of the last decade that we have sung, but I wonder if we understand the words. If David would have wrote this song, he basically did, by the way. I think we stole this song from David, because as I think about this passage of scripture, I think about what he was saying, that goodness and mercy is following me, that we serve a great, big God that is good. I think no wonder why we wrote this song.
'Cause all my life you have been faithful. All my life. Every breath that I will
Come on,
sing
some of you are getting it.
of the good.
Some of you are getting it.
We sing it
Thank you,
again.
Jesus.
Yes, all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yes, your goodness is running after, it's running after,
running after you. It's running after you.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything.
Come on, at every campus, let's sing this one more time together. Come on, with every hand raised. I wonder if you can sing this like you believe it.
Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me.
His goodness has been running after you. In a world of what ifs. In a world of what ifs. One thing you can be sure about is his goodness is running after you. Lamentations 3 says, the steadfast love of the Lord, it never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. Just go ahead and keep on playing for me, because you know what? My clock is fading here. They're new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. See, when you understand this, when you begin to catch this in your life, I'm telling you, it will change the way you view the what ifs. I know there's some what ifs. I know there's some things that are tough. I know that there are some things that you didn't sign up for, you didn't want. But when we understand who we're following, and when we understand what is following us, it changes our what ifs. And when our what ifs begin to change, I'm telling you, it'll build your trust in him. It'll build your trust in so many new ways. You know, this journey with God is a life of faith. It takes faith to come to him, but it also takes faith to continue to follow him. And part of that is putting your faith and your trust in him. And when you begin to understand who you're following, when you understand how the shepherd is leading you, it'll change your trust. I think you'll begin to trust him with what you cannot see. I think about Abraham in Hebrews chapter 11 when God's like, hey, Abraham, I need you to just go to the land and I'll show you. I don't like that. I want you to drop a pin for me, Lord. Show me on the map. And it says that Abraham went out, put it on the screen. It said he went out not knowing where he was going. I'm telling you, that's the kind of trust I wanna have. I wanna learn to trust him in ways that I cannot see. To say, God, I don't care what's around the bend. God, I don't know what's next, but I will grab your hand. But some of you, you're looking for a map. I wish he was a map kind of God. I wish he gave us a map for everything he wanted to do in our lives. But the problem with him giving us a map is, to be honest with you, we probably couldn't handle the map. He gave us a map, we'd probably mess it up. And so he never promises us a map. He doesn't say, I'll give you a map. I'll make things so just like easy and clear. No, because he's saying, do you trust me? He doesn't give us a map because he doesn't want us to follow a map. He wants us to hold his hand. He's saying, I won't give you a map, but I will give you my hand. And if you will trust me, and if you will hold my hand, and you will follow me, I am your shepherd. And some of you have been asking for a map, and he is saying, will you just, shout out to week number 1, give me my job back. The shepherd wants his job back. And he's saying, surely, one thing you can know is I've got goodness and mercy chasing after you, so you can trust me with what you cannot see, but you have to stop looking for a map, and you just gotta take my hand. And not only that, when you begin to trust him, you trust him with what you cannot see. And then I have found you begin to trust him with what you cannot control. I love to control things. I love to be in charge. I love to figure it all out on my own. And I'm not saying that we just abdicate our responsibility and throw our hands up and say, well, God, I mean, if you're the one in control of everything, then I'm just gonna sit back. Sit on my hands and do nothing. Some of you, you've been praying for God to open a door for a job, but you haven't filled out the resume. You've been asking God to get you out of some financial troubles, but you won't follow his plan for money. You've never tithed, you've never put him first, you've never done anything to trust God with your resources. You've kept your wallet in your own pocket and said, God, I trust in this. God, I know what to do with this. And God's saying, well, if you want some help, I will give it to you, but you have to start trusting in me. Some of you, you've been praying for a spouse. I have read so many prayer cards, and some of you men, you've been praying for a spouse. I'm telling you, then brush your hair. Get a job. Move out of the basement. You're like, God, give me a beautiful spouse. I'm trying. So I'm not saying that you drop all responsibility. No, you work. You do everything you can. There's a difference between your responsibility and God's sovereignty. There's a difference between saying, okay, God, I've done everything I can with my kids. Now I trust that you're sovereign in the areas that I don't control. You're saying, God, I've done everything I can at my work. Now I'm trusting you're sovereign by opening up the door. God, I've done everything I can to steward my health. Now I'm trusting that you are a God that holds every diagnosis in the palm of your hand. See, there are moments where your responsibility will come to an end and God's sovereignty will begin, where you really have done everything that you can do. And that is not failure. No, that is the place when your responsibility ends, that God's sovereignty begins, and he can say, in your weakness, oh, I am strong. And so we trust him with what we cannot see. And we trust him with what we cannot control. And then I think you'll learn to trust him with the things you don't understand. See, this is a little different because some of your what ifs isn't about something that will happen. It's about something that's already happened. the decision's already been made. The report's already come back. The child's already made the mistake. And today you're asking why. And I don't know why. I don't know why it happened to you. See, we want to figure out why sometimes. Sometimes, man, we live in a valley of whys. Why becomes the death of us. Because we're so fixated on why that we lose focus of who is still in our lives and is still following us and is still with us. You're like, but God, why? David could have asked why. Why am I in the valley? Why am I in the cave? Why have my own kids betrayed me? Why? Why have I walked through this? Why have I made dumb decisions? Why have I made these mistakes? God, why does it seem like there are moments where you are distant and far off, but he doesn't do that? Instead of asking why in the middle of his valley, he just looks up and he says, but surely, I'm not gonna live in the why. I'm just gonna look to my Savior and say, but surely I'm not gonna focus on the why. I'm not gonna die in my why. I'm not gonna lose hope in my why. I'm gonna say this one thing I know. Surely, I don't know why, but what I do know is surely goodness and mercy. It is following me. It is chasing me down. Why? I don't know. There's some things I don't understand. But there are some things I am sure of. And I am sure of this future in my life. I am sure that God is still good. I am sure that his mercies will never run out. I am sure that he hasn't abandoned you. I am sure that he is still a provider. I am sure that he is still a miracle worker. I am sure that goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life. Not just the days you understand. Not just the days you feel like hope, or you feel like maybe things went the way you had hoped. Not just the days your prayers get answered the way you wanted. I'm telling you, all the days of your life. And he could have ended there. He could have just said, goodness and mercy are following all the days of my life, on the bad days, on the good days, on the days I don't understand, in the mountain, in the valley, but he doesn't. He doesn't end there. He doesn't stop there. That would have been enough. But he gives us one more thing that he is sure about. And he says, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. See, David was saying, I do not know where this journey is gonna take me. I do not know if every one of your prayers are gonna get answered. But that does not mean that I do not know who is with you and what is pursuing you. I do not know this side of heaven if you'll get where you want to go. But what I do know is I know what tomorrow holds for every believer. What I do know is that whether you go through valleys most of your life or whether you live on mountaintops, whether the chapters of your story seem good or bad, what I do know and what David did know is he knew how our story ends, that when our days are over, we will still be with our shepherd and we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In other words, he knew how the story ends. In church, there is one thing I can be sure of for your future. A sure future that I have for you is I know how your story ends, and that if you say yes to Jesus, it ends with you dwelling in the house of the Lord forever. And so may your confidence not just be in what is in front of you. May your confidence not just rest in everything happening to you. May your confidence be in the fact that the Lord is your shepherd, and he is leading you and guiding you and pursuing you all the days of your life. And when your time on this earth is done and you breathe your last breath, you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Jesus said, I am the way, I'm the truth and the life. He said, I went away to prepare a place for you, to where you can be with me also. His plan has always been for you not just to have a full life now, but a full life later. We live in a broken and a fallen world. That there will be some troubles in this world, but there is a great hope in which we have, and it is the hope of heaven one day, and I cannot wait to get to heaven one day. And I'm telling you this one thing I know, that goodness and mercy is following you all the days of your life, and you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And so from the green pastures to the darkest valleys, to the final days of our lives, the shepherd is with us. And surely goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives. The Lord, he is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, the darkest valley, he is with me. His rod and his staff, they're there to comfort me. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. He anoints my head with oil. Whether I realize it or not, my cup is overflowing. And surely goodness and mercy, they have been chasing after me. And I will dwell one day in the house of the Lord forever. Can I pray over you? Father, we thank you. We thank you for this beautiful psalm. That breathes so much life and so much hope. I pray that every person in this room today would walk out of here making a decision to allow you to be their shepherd. For some of them, it will be a decision they make for the first time. And as our campus pastors lead them in that decision, I pray that they would respond. For others, it will be a new decision where they recommit their lives to you, to allow you to have your job back, to allow you to have place in their life again. Father, I pray for all of us that we would recognize whose hand is available to us. And as we grab your hand, may we rest assured that goodness and mercy are following us all the days of our lives. And we will dwell with you one day in the house of the Lord forever.